Hey, Carly here from the Habit Ayurveda. I'm the creator of the 12-week Everyday Ayurveda course. And inside the course, every 2 weeks, the community gets together. We've got over 100 members right now, and we get together for a group consultation call. During these calls, we talk about absolutely everything that's going on for people, okay? So if you're having digestive upset, if you're feeling tired all the time, if you're feeling stressed all the time, if you're not sure which herbs you should be taking, uh, we talk about the diet, we talk about the sleep, we talk about your energy levels, what kind of exercise is best for you, everything. And it's wonderful because often when one person asks a question, there's other people that are also feeling the same way. So we get this really good sense of community going. Everybody's adopting healthier lifestyle, healthier habits, and supporting each other in doing that. And I wanted to share a little bit of this experience with you today. We had a discussion in our group consultation call about how to eat anything you want. I think we've been miseducated in terms of what is really important when it comes to the way we eat our foods. It's not always about the diet. It's not about what you're eating as much as how you're approaching what you're eating. An excellent example of this, and I talk about this in our call, is the French paradox. The fact that in France, by and large, people are eating longer meals, larger meals. They're taking 2 3 hours to eat their meals. They're uh, eating a lot of fat and a lot of sugar and a lot of wine, a lot of alcohol daily. Yet somehow they have lower obesity rates, lower inflammation, lower heart disease rates than us here in the West. So what's going on with that? This shows us that clearly food isn't the only piece of the puzzle. And Ayurveda very much teaches the same thing. So in today's group consultation call, we talked about 6 tips for eating absolutely anything you want. How to digest the food that you want. Of course, I'm not talking about people who already have inflammatory diseases or celiac, things like that. There might be, if you're that far down the path, there might be things that you're unable to eat right now. But for the general public, this is 6 tips for digesting your food, enjoying your food, and maintaining a healthy weight and a healthy sense of energy in your body about it. How to really absorb your nutrients, get the most out of your food. So I'm going to dive into 6 tips. It's 20 minutes of the call. On the consultation calls, they run for an hour every 2 weeks, and the second half is all those Q&As, people's questions, and conversation about how I can help people specifically. I'm not going to share that with you here today because it's confidential for the people inside the course community. Highly recommend you joining the course, but I wanted to share this with you because these 6 tips are really going to help you, especially when it comes to bigger meals, the holiday meals, and things like that. So we'll dive in. You can put any questions you have in that comment box on the right side of your screen or at the bottom of your screen if you're on mobile. You can ask away and they'll come right to my email address, and I'm happy to help you out with any questions you might have. I hope you enjoy the class. I'm going to dive into 6 tips for digesting your meals, and that makes you more able to eat absolutely anything. I think that we've been miseducated on our diet and how the amount of importance that we put on what we're eating versus how we're showing up and eating. And this is all what we talk about in Module 1, in Make Space, in the Everyday Ayurveda course. Is like, it's not really about what you're eating. There's so much more benefit that you can glean from focusing on how you're approaching your meals. So let's dive into a few tips here. So the first one is, this is one of the foundational practices of an Ayurvedic lifestyle, is eating your largest meal when the sun is highest in the sky. When it comes to the festive meals, whether we're having our Easter dinner or Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, especially if you're going to be having like all the trimmings, it's a great idea to schedule that meal at 2 p.m. We've done this for a few years now, and
as a result, not only are we giving our bodies a chance to actually digest our food before we go to bed, but it opens up so much more space to enjoy each other and enjoy the family, right? And especially, as the mother, as the one who's in the kitchen and doing the cooking. In the past, it was always like so rushed. The family would show up at 4:30. Not that we're having family this year, but that's an opportunity to create new traditions for yourself, right? The family would show up at 4:30. I'd be in the kitchen doing all the things. We would have dinner, and then the kids would be opening presents from their family members at like 6:30, 7 p.m., like when they would otherwise be getting ready for bed, right? But they're kind of tired. They're like wired on sugar. They're crushing through these presents, like not even really knowing who they're from. So we create this kind of snowball effect of overwhelm, not to mention to our digestive tract when we're eating late at night, especially when it's a large meal. So 2 p.m. dinner, highly recommended. As Ayurveda teaches us, the human body, the liver secretes the most bile, which is what breaks down your food, creates your stomach acid in your body and breaks down your food. We secrete more bile when the sun is highest in the sky, between 2 a.m. or 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So you want to take in a larger meal when you can give your body the time the whole rest of the day to really break down and assimilate those nutrients. Something that you can do to increase your bile secretion is to have a slice of ginger with some salt and lime juice on top of it before your meal, or even just a slice of fresh ginger 15 minutes before your meal. Helps you to prepare the body to receive the food. Also, turmeric increases emptying of your gallbladder. The gallbladder is like the storehouse of excess bile, and in modern culture, we often eat like a low-fat diet, which doesn't encourage emptying of the gallbladder very often, and then you can end up with this like toxic sludge stored in the gallbladder, and that's when you get gallstones and all kinds of problems happen. So you want to encourage your gallbladder to empty out so that it will promote production of fresh bile. And so taking turmeric before or after your meals is a wonderful idea. The second tip is taking a little bit of water before your meal, about 20 minutes before. And there's a big difference between drinking water before a meal and drinking water with a meal. So when you drink it before, I always imagine it as like imagining your stomach and it having this like puddle of bile at the bottom. And when you put water in ahead of time, it turns the puddle into a pool. So you've got this nice bile soup happening in your stomach, and then you throw the food down there and it breaks down much more easily. Versus if it's just that little puddle and you're trying to like roll the food around using peristalsis, your stomach's like going like this, trying to move the food around and like roll it in this wet sludge is what I'm imagining. Right? So we want to give it the soup to land in. If you drink water with the meal, though, what can happen is you would dilute the bile in the stomach. So it creates like it's not as strong of a soup to break down your food. Let's see. Giovanna would like to know if she can eat turmeric before the meal if she doesn't have ginger. Absolutely. And it's also good after a meal too. I often, if I feel that I've overeaten, I'll take a teaspoon of turmeric. You just take it by the teaspoon, put it in your mouth, throw down some water. Doesn't taste amazing, but it makes you feel better. All right, tip number 3 is smelling your food before you eat it. Smelling and looking at it and thinking about it and taking it in with all of your other senses before you actually ingest it. There is an initial part of our digestive phase called the cephalic phase, not phallic, cephalic. And it occurs before we start to eat. So cephalic means head. So it begins with the brain seeing, smelling, and anticipating the food. And if you can imagine, like when you smell fresh baked bread, and when you close your eyes and think about what that would smell like and what it looks like and the little like steam lines coming off of it, and you almost start to, you think about it and you start to gather a little bit of spit in your mouth, right? You start to secrete, this is amylase, this is digestive enzymes preparing your body to take in this food, your saliva, right? Stomach acids also begin to be released as a reaction to thinking about this food coming into your belly. And they did a study recently that showed that 30 to 40% of the total digestive response is due to this cephalic phase, right? How many of us, especially, you know, in Western culture, we eat on the go, we grab our like Vega bars or whatever, protein bars, or whatever we think is like the ultra healthy thing to eat. We're avoiding the sugar and the fats. We're having the healthy things, but we're like grab and go, we're like stuffing it in our face while we're driving or while we're sitting at our computer. So we're missing out on 30 to 40% of our body's ability to actually break down and assimilate and absorb those nutrients. The fourth thing is chewing your food. So I always recommend putting down your fork in between bites, just as a habit reminder for you to slow down. I'm a shoveler. I don't know about you, but I will eat my food really quickly if I'm not paying attention. This reminds me of, the French paradox, that in France, in general, people eat their meal in midday, their largest meal midday. They take 2 to 3 hours to eat their meal, and it has fats and cheese and wine and sweets every day. And yet they are far healthier than we are. So it's not about what they're eating, it's about how they're taking it in, right? That they're allowing themselves to be present with their meal and to enjoy each other and to enjoy their meal fully. So especially around the holiday meals, we can allow ourselves to just take as long as we want, right? I think we need a reminder sometimes that we're not in a rush. There's no fire. This is creating stress response in the body, which I'll talk about that again in a second. But the next tip is eating dessert. So I want to enjoy all of the beautiful things that life has to offer. If eating sweets brings you pleasure, then, I want you to enjoy those things in moderation. And you can best digest your sweets when you pair them right next to your meal. So you would eat your meal and then have dessert immediately after. And this is just saving your body a lot of energy stores. When we get into more of like a grazing attitude where it's like, eat breakfast, then a little snack, then I have lunch, then I'll have some chocolate, then I'm gonna have dinner, and then maybe some chips in the evening. That's like your body having food in all of the stages of digestion. If you have something in your mouth, something going down your esophagus, something in your stomach, small intestine, large intestine, moving to your colon, all the way along, your body is doing this peristalsis movement and trying to absorb the nutrients and break down the foods and decide which is coming into your bloodstream and which is going to move to your colon for elimination. And so if you got food in your stomach, food in your small intestine, large intestine, colon, it's like a traffic jam. And it's actually using up a ton of your energy, right? We only have a finite amount of energy in a day. So it's going to go to digesting your food, unless you're stuck again in stress response, in which case it's not going to do that effectively. So especially if you're stressed and grazing as a result of your stress, then we're kind of doubling down on harming ourselves. So we want to try and be relaxed and present as much as we can during our meals. When you eat in a stress response or in a rush or hurried or worried response, your body can't break it down properly. I'm sure you've heard this before. When the body is stuck in stress response, releasing cortisol. And this doesn't have to mean that there's like a saber-toothed tiger chasing you. It could mean that you're overthinking about something dumb that your husband did that you want to fight about with him, you know, or that we're spinning out, worried about whether, whether you're going to be able to drive on the icy roads when you wherever you need to go today, or something that your mom said that upset you. This is all triggering cortisol release or stress hormone release. And when we're stressed, then the body doesn't take time to stop and eat. It shuts down your digestive process. And when that happens, fewer digestive enzymes are being released. So you might feel like when you're eating under a stress state or distracted state, that the food is just like sitting in your stomach and taking a really long time to break down, or you might be experiencing indigestion of some kind. And it's also producing less hydrochloric acid, which is what is secreted to aid the breakdown of your carbohydrates and your fats and your proteins. Without stomach acid, a lot of the vitamins and minerals can't be broken down or can't be absorbed into the body. And over time, when we don't break down things, it causes weight gain and a lot of other inflammatory diseases as well. During stress response, the body is producing excess glucose into the bloodstream to provide us with additional energy. And this can be really wearing on the pancreas because it's like producing a lot of insulin to deliver the glucose in the body, which when you're producing a lot of insulin, it creates sugar cravings. So again, we get this sort of snowball effect. It's like stress, now I'm overeating because I'm stressed, and now because I'm overeating, I'm craving more. Like increases, like the more we do something, the more our body's going to want to do it. So the best thing we can do is just stop and allow ourselves to enjoy our meals. It's so interesting that we have this tendency to really overlook or brush past something that is so imperative to our well-being is our nutrition, right? But we kind of treat it like it's this side thing that doesn't maybe matter. So quick recap of our 6 tips. It would be great, especially if you're having a larger meal, if you can try to do so earlier in the evening. And like on any given day, if you go to a restaurant at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the food is always fresh, the service is always excellent. So highly recommend adopting this practice. And again, that's what module 1 in the course is all about. And we're going to go much more into that in the month of January, actually. The second thing is to drink water, or even you could have ginger tea, or even like a hot cinnamon water, anything to kind of stimulate your digestive enzymes 20 minutes before your meal. And also aim to not have any liquids during the meal if possible. You want to pause before you eat. Some people pray before they eat. Some people give gratitude before they eat. What a lovely practice. And, you know, I wasn't brought up in a religious home, but now I understand the immense value of expressing gratitude for the food that you're about to receive. It increases the love in your heart, and it also increases your ability to digest your food. So like a double benefit. And we're going to be chewing our food, placing the fork down between bites. We're going to be enjoying the heck out of our dessert, but doing so maybe right after our meal instead of spacing it out too much. When we do the Christmas or holiday meals, we'll usually have dinner at 1 or 2, and then we would have dessert at 4 or 5, and that would be like our final meal of the day. And then just relaxing to receive your meal is the last tip. Relaxing and removing those distractions as much as possible. Even like looking at your emails, scrolling social media, that can stimulate a stress response in the body. And so just let yourself be in parasympathetic. It's like, I've just been talking a lot. So taking a deep breath in. And when you do the big exhale and release all the muscles in your body, that's what parasympathetic feels like. And then we have room for joy to come in, right? If I'm like action, 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 as a predominantly pitta person, I'm always like, what's the next step that I need to go to? And this is not helping me digest my food. It's creating problems for me as well. So to be able to step away and remind myself that doing nothing is doing something, this is the point of module 1 of making space, is timing our meals properly, spacing our meals properly, to give ourselves room to digest our food properly, but also to digest the rest of our life experiences. Making space is also about, something that I get caught up in doing sometimes is I'll be working and I need to go to the bathroom, and I'll go to the bathroom and I'll bring my phone, and while I'm in the bathroom I'll like check social media quick. And it's like, I didn't even give myself that 2 minutes to just be with myself. So if any of this is resonating with you, we're going to be diving deeper into module 1, and the things in making space habit are life-changing in and of themselves. Let's check the chat.